All right, welcome back. 'Tis the season of having your cake and eating it too. This carnival, the New Orleans Culinary and Hospitality Institute, will host king cake baking classes. Matt Haines, author of the Big Book of King Cake, will explore the history of sweet treats, and he's joining us now this morning. Thank you so much for being here and bringing these with you. I love them.
I carry them around everywhere. So.
This is great. All right, so you are the author of this book. You explore the history of king cake. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't realize that king cake history, a lot of people know it goes back to France. They don't realize it actually goes back 4,000 years earlier to ancient Rome. So it's an incredible history, and I try to tackle that in the book. But primarily, the book is about 75 different New Orleans area bakers and the stories behind each of them. They all have an incredible story, including the three bakeries from which we've gotten these cakes today.
So you mentioned how it started. How did we get it here in New Orleans with all these different variations now?
Yeah. So it went from Rome, as Rome expanded to the Roman Empire. That included what's now France. And then France, particularly southern France, had a king cake with a hole kind of in the middle. Instead of colorful sugar, it had colorful fruit.
Okay.
And so when the French came to New Orleans, our king cake in the 1700s looked something like that. And it was primarily Creole families who were eating that. By the time like Mardi Gras cruise started to pop up in the middle of the 1800s, a lot of Anglo-New Orleanians discovered king cake for the first time. And they're like, this is a really cool tradition. Now, Creoles, they were only eating king cake once a year on January 6th. And everyone else was like, this is too fun. Why are we doing it once a year?
One day is not enough.
Right. And so whoever got the bean inside the cake would be responsible for bringing next week's cake. And then that person would bring, whoever got the next one would bring the next one.
The next one, and so on.
Yeah, and it went from being a Christmas time tradition to being a carnival season tradition eventually.
So you brought goodies with you, which you're always going to be welcome, but you're extra welcomed, of course, when you bring treats with you.
Every time.
Every different bakery and cafe has different versions of their own. So how do we get these differences, and can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. And so when I started working on the book, I thought it was just going to be a beautiful book with lots of pictures. It is a beautiful book with lots of pictures. But what I didn't realize as I was interviewing the bakers is that they all have this incredible story. So for example, Cheryl Scripter from Bittersweet Confections, she has this traditional king cake, but she also has a chocolate-filled one, and that's her primary one. And so she said when she was growing up as a little girl, her and her sisters would make chocolates and different desserts for her dad, and like she had so much fun watching her dad's reaction to the chocolates they were making. And so she said as she got older and trying to figure out what she wanted to do for a career, she decided she wanted to be a chocolate maker. And if you're a chocolate maker here in New Orleans, of course, you're going to make a chocolate king cake. And then this is La Vie en Rose Cafe. She has a rose-covered king cake.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And so Kirby Jones, she grew up here in Louisiana, and she said, like, you know, she had 2 kids and she's trying to start this bakery, and she finally finds a place that she can afford to rent for her bakery. And then as soon as she finds it, that bakery closes and she has to find another place. And as soon as she finds it, they raise the rent. And so she loved the song, she said, to get her through this time period, La Vie en Rose. And so it's about having rose-colored glasses. And so she tried to see the world through rose-colored glasses. And so she wanted her king cake to have roses on top and rose filling inside.
I want to ask you really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Savory king cakes, king cake or not?
I say yes, but I love that some people, every time I do a king cake talk, somebody's like, the only real king cake is a Mackenzie's and everything else is just a cinnamon bun. So you have those people, and then some people are like, everything's a king cake.
There's a spectrum here.
Yeah, exactly.
And then really quickly before we wrap and head to our next topic, you guys are there's a class to bake king cakes and learn about that. What should we know?
Yeah, so we got 2 of them, one on January 28th and one on February 18th, both from 6 to 8 at Noki.
Okay.
And you can order your tickets at noki.org, I believe. And tickets are $85. Martha, who made this king cake, who has an unbelievable story, she's going to be teaching the class, teaching everyone how to make a king cake, and then I will be, while the dough is rising, I will be talking about the history of king cake. I have a really fun PowerPoint presentation.
I love this. 'Tis the season. I love it all. Yeah. I'm going to probably look into those tickets myself. Those classes will be held Tuesday, January 28th and February 18th at Noki from 6 to 8 p.m. And make sure you get your tickets.